Panther people, what up? Should the Panthers trade up to number 1 with Chicago? Is Bryce Young the guy? Is Steve Wilkes the guy? Who is Shane Steichen? What's going on? You're watching Panthers Post with Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining, and it is the off season. Unfortunately, the Panthers not making it into the postseason. They're not hosting the Dallas Cowboys, who I strongly would have believed that they probably would have made that a close game, if not won that game with a raucous Bank of America Stadium. But anyways, we're moving on to the season after the season for those who don't have a postseason. And for those who have been here since day one, I'm sure you're watching right now, Panthers Post was born during the offseason. Right before the draft, the Panthers traded with the Jets for Sam Darnold. In hindsight, I'm sure the Jets probably wish they still had Sam Darnold. And being a Carolina Panthers fan in Southern Ontario in Canada, really no one to talk to about it, so I just turned on the old phone and boom, Panthers Post was born. I'm all about building the team. I'm all about the draft. I love the Underwear Olympics. I used to work at a sports bar during the day when the combine was happening. I was all like, can you guys go to NFL Network? I need to watch a bunch of guys in spandex running 40-yard dashes and a bunch of cone drills. They're like, huh? But always been about that. And so this is kind of like what I'm here for, is to talk about the offseason, talk about team building. And this could be probably the most critical, the most important offseason for the Carolina Panthers since 2011. The chance that they could be getting a long-term head coach, a long-term quarterback here this offseason, and to continue to build, as Scott Fitterer said during his press conference, a sexy draft, explosive playmakers on the outside. Now, the trenches are pretty much built up. You can always add an edge rusher, as he mentioned, but speedy wide receiver, ball hawk safety. It's going to be a crazy offseason, and depending on what happens in this offseason, will set the trajectory for this team for the next 5-10 years. Before we get all to that, I got a bit of an announcement. You may have seen it below in this screen. Your boys got some new merch. Boom. Original design. Kind of combines my love for the Carolina Panthers and tattoos. If you haven't noticed, when I wear t-shirts in those summer episodes, got a tat. I love American traditional stuff. I also love my son. So my brother, who is a visual artist, he is a animator. He's a special effects guy, designed this specifically for Panthers Post. That's my kid. All right. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I know, it doesn't make any sense. So these shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, stickers, cups, all that stuff you can find below just to support the channel. Talking about building teams, I was always making a team on Madden, always designing jerseys and helmets and all that stuff. Always been a fan of jerseys and logos, clearly. And so it's just a cool opportunity, good excuse to design something. And depending on how these sell, I'll restock and also might maybe be creating some snapback hats in a select few. But right now, if you use the promo code POST2023 when you buy, you get 20% off. This is now going to be a draft-centric / hiring of coaches-centric vlog. I'm going to be getting experts to come in to talk about all these things. And so for the next couple of weeks, since the Panthers are going to be in the market to draft a quarterback, I don't want to hear anything about Derek Carr. I don't want to hear anything about Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. It's either Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, or a rookie. That's it. Sam Darnold coming back, cool. To be the bridge, cool. But we're not talking no Derek Carr. So every single week, I'm going to be profiling, with the help of a very special guest, each one of the prominent quarterback prospects entering into the draft and some non-quarterback prospects entering this draft that the Panthers should be looking at in the later rounds if they don't trade them all away. I'll be joined by the one, the only, Damian Parson. He works at the Draft Network. He's one of their draft gurus there. He's a South Carolina guy. Didn't say outright he's a Panthers fan, but he has fond memories of the Carolina Panthers. He's a bit of a sympathizer, same way I'm like kind of a Bills sympathizer just because of where I live. You can follow him on Twitter at DP_NFL. Super knowledgeable. He's X's and O's. He's all the things I'm not. He's actually going to the Senior Bowl. He's going to the Shrine Game. He's doing all this stuff. He's boots on the ground, so he knows these prospects inside and out. So I trust everything he says about these players, and so should you. All right, let's talk about, to many people, the number 1 ranked quarterback in this draft in Alabama's Bryce Young. Not in the BCS, but as we know, as we've seen, despite what normally happens when kids come back to school, despite the slings and arrows that he got, he is still considered to be the number 1 overall quarterback in this draft. You can have your own opinions. You might have your own different opinion by the end of this series. I might as well. That's what's great about this. We can change our minds. But Bryce Young, of course, has a lot going for him. He's a winner, comes from a winning program. He's got everything figured out between the ears. The only thing people are freaking out right now, and it's like the number one B thing that people mention, is his size and lack thereof. The kid reportedly is going to be around 5'10", 180, 190 pounds. And so that's going to freak some people out. But to me, he seems like a CEO kind of guy. I feel like the fact that he went to college during the NIL era when it really hit, before he even took a snap as a starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban was saying he was making 7 figures already. And the fact that a kid could be making that kind of money in a crazy football town like Tuscaloosa and still perform, still deliver, and we don't see him on the news. Mind you, they probably get protected out there, but we see him not doing anything stupid. Don't see anything doing dumb in social media. I feel like he is a great guy to lead this team, literally as a leader, but also be a great community spokesperson as well for this squad. But also, he could just ball the hell out. He can do some crazy things out there. But don't take it from me. I'm just a guy. Take it from the expert himself, from the Draft Network, Damian Parson. This is why he thinks Bryce Young is so special.
We always hear those things like intangibles and what you can't teach, right? And typically, a lot of times when people talk about what you can't teach, it's always the physical tools. Oh, you can't teach a 4.3. You can't teach a guy to look like Josh Allen or Cam Newton to be 6'5", 6'6", 240, 4.4 athlete with a rocket arm. You can't teach those things. But also, you can't teach mental fortitude either. You just either have it or you don't. And there's so many times, you look at the Texas game this year, offensive line's getting beat up, receivers aren't getting open. And it's just him and Jahmyr Gibbs is the only offensive weapons to really keep this offense within range of winning this game. And you talk about being a playmaker. That's what Bryce Young is. He's we use the analogy, me and my guy Keith Sanchez for the Draft Network. We talk about point guards. He's like the Chris Paul, right? And he does a great job distributing the ball to his weapons, to his options, getting the ball out. Good arm, not great. His size, will bother some people, man. But the accuracy, the ball placement that he has, and this is a tough kid, mentally tough. You understand he's a leader. This is a guy that the team rallies around, great in the locker room as well. Someone's going to lead by example, not just give you lip service. So all those things, man, the character, all of it. It's like, okay, this is what I remember hearing from a former scout or a retired scout told me, he said, DP, talent gets you drafted, but character is what really sets the ceiling, right? So when you have a guy like Bryce Young that's going to put the work in, who's going to really be from the neck up, above the competition, man, that's what makes this kid special. The toughness, like I said, the Texas game, he's got a free runner coming at him, and he just stops on a dime and just makes the guy miss and gets the first down. You see it so many times of him evading and getting out of the pocket when things break down and be able to start like a slot receiver, like a running back, and then reset his feet and deliver an on-target pass. Like, you just think about the fact that this young man was one of the only guys in college football to light up that last year's Georgia Bulldogs defense when he had his weapons healthy. And that was in the SEC championship game. So for me, it's just the toughness, the accuracy, the ball placement, just being a point guard. Sometimes it's not about being the alien or a superhero at the quarterback position. Can you run the offense? Can you create? And he can do all those things.
Curry point guard comp makes so much sense. Also makes more sense that Curry is a Panthers fan. I think that'd be awesome. Imagine those two in a commercial together. I could totally see that happening. Also, one thing about Bryce Young kind of shatters the mold of only child syndrome. Like, most people say only children are spoiled, bratty, but he is not that. Even keel, good dude, lead my football team. I'm all about it. Another thing about Bryce, now we talked about his size. I threw it out there weeks ago when I was hot and heavy for Bryce Young. Is there a chance when we get to Indianapolis, the Underwear Olympics, where we always know about everyone's worried about hand size, everyone's worried about all that kind of stuff, the medicals, that's the big thing that scouts say, that the combine's all about medicals, making sure everybody's healthy before they spend gajillions of dollars on these guys. I asked Dame, once Bryce has his shirt off, and he's just wearing the spandex or the shorts, whatever, and people get a look at him, and it's like, whoa. Not only is this guy 5'10", 180, he's not like a 5'10", 180 yoked 180, because you've seen those MMA fighters or anybody who's like 160 pounds, but they look 190 because they're just freaking jacked, no fat. I have a fear that if or in a way, a hope that scouts, old school scouts, will look at him and be like, this guy's built like a boy. I've mentioned it before. There's not one photo of him with just veins popping out. Like, like even, I don't even know if CJ Stroud has that kind of body, but you look at a Will Levis, you look at an Anthony Richardson, hell, even Hendon Hooker was built like a rock. And so, is there a chance that he could slide because of that? And, places like in Houston, Nick Caserio, maybe he wants a bigger quarterback. He goes for a Will Levis and goes for a CJ Stroud, and someone, despite his talent on the field, playing in the SEC, with an Alabama team that wasn't at its best, could he fall somehow to 9 and the Panthers don't need to trade anything? Here's what Dame had to say.
Yes, to me, there is absolutely a path and a chance for that. Because again, like you said, when we get to the combine and the pads are off and you guys are in the shirts, in the tights, and you have to throw, granted, Bryce Young is going to be way behind Will Levis because of that alphabetical order, but still yet you're going to have the image of a 6'3", 220 pound, 25 or 30 pound, depending on where he comes in at, Will Levis. And we see it every year, right? That throw, that deep ball throw, the goal ball that the GMs and the scouts lose their mind over, right? And you just see that when Will Levis is going to make that throw, they're gonna hop out of their seats. You're gonna hear the oohs and the ahs because he has such an easy arm. One of the best in this class. He's top 2. To me, he's behind Anthony Richardson. But then you have Bryce, and Bryce is going to throw it, and it could be accurate. It could still look good, but it's not going to go as far. It's not going to look as great. It's not going to be as pretty. You're not going to get all those oohs and ahs, right? So I definitely think there's a chance for an NFL team to say, man, this guy looks like a truck. He looks like a Ford F-250. He looks like that type of guy. And I can see them having kind of the old school traditional mindset for Bryson. It's like, he looks like a Fiat, like he like somebody, and that's how they could kind of compare those two guys. And our slogan at TDN, man, is just draft good players and do the process and whatever you value, whatever you weigh, that's how you do it.
Damian Parson from the Draft Network. Make sure you follow him at DP_NFL. Tell him Phil sent you. Tell him Phil Perkins sent you. All right. So he's going to be on every week. Next week, we're going to talk about CJ Stroud, who may have overtaken Bryce Young, according to some scouts, as number 1 overall QB after that Peach Bowl performance against Georgia. He actually gave Georgia a game, unlike TCU. Sorry, Horned Frogs. Sorry, LaDainian Tomlinson. Sorry, Andy Dalton. So we're going to be talking about CJ Stroud, what makes him special. Could he fit with the Panthers right away? Do we need a bridge quarterback? We're going to lay that all out. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the games this weekend if you're watching them. If not, enjoy the Hornets or the Hurricanes or whatever the hell you watch. I'm watching the Kraken, watching the Raptors, watching the games as well. Might be doing some reactions to that via YouTube Shorts. But I appreciate you guys. Make sure to spread the word, like, subscribe. See you next week. CJ Stroud.